Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto-we party has shocked the country by removing around 20 of its own members of parliament without providing any clear public explanation. For many of those MPs, the dismissal letters arrived suddenly, leaving them stunned and without answers. Some of them are now heading to court, claiming they were unfairly expelled, that procedures were not followed, and that the move was orchestrated to make space for others. The story is dominating headlines because it speaks to much bigger questions about how political parties in South Africa operate, how they treat their members, and what this could mean for democracy going forward. To really understand why this matters, it's important to look at the background. Jacob Zuma, the former president of South Africa, has been one of the most influential and controversial figures in the nation's politics. After being sidelined and expelled by the ANC, he used his political influence to launch the MK Party, which carried the name of the ANC's old armed wing. When the 2024 elections came, many expected MK to perform poorly, but the party surprised everyone by winning more than 50 seats in the National Assembly, securing a strong foothold in parliament almost overnight. For a party that had barely existed a year before, this was a remarkable achievement, and it showed how much political capital Zuma still commanded among sections of the electorate who were frustrated with the ANC and eager for something new. But even from the start, there were signs of cracks inside MK. Reports surfaced about disagreements over who would get parliamentary seats and allegations that some members were appointed without proper processes being followed. Tensions grew when the party initially boycotted the first sitting of parliament, only to backtrack and take their seats days later. From that moment on, it became clear that MK was not immune to the same infighting and factional battles that have plagued other political movements. The mass removal of MPs has now brought those internal divisions out into the open. The party leadership, speaking through figures like Chief Whip Cyril Ngobane and spokesperson Lamulon Blila, insists that these expulsions were necessary to protect the party's integrity. They argue that some MPs were never properly part of MK's parliamentary deployment, claiming that external groups had placed people on the party list under questionable arrangements. From their point of view, this purge was about restoring discipline and ensuring that MK was represented by loyal and legitimate members. But the MPs who were dismissed tell a very different story. Many of them say they were blindsided, that they were never given an opportunity to defend themselves, and that the expulsions were not only unfair but unlawful. Several of them have gone to the Western Cape High Court, asking judges to intervene and stop Parliament from swearing in replacements. They argue that what happened is a violation of their rights, and that the move was designed to make space for high-profile defectors from other parties who recently joined MK, such as former EFF leaders. From their perspective, this was a power grab dressed up as discipline, and it reveals how the party may be more focused on rewarding loyalty than respecting process. Independent observers have pointed out that this crisis is a test for the MK party's credibility. For a new political movement that came into parliament on a wave of energy and anger at the ANC, the way it handles its internal governance is crucial. If members can be expelled without clear reasons or due process, then what kind of democracy is MK really offering its supporters? Critics warn that the party risks being seen as chaotic, authoritarian, or simply another vehicle for patronage and factionalism. Supporters, on the other hand, argue that strong leadership is needed to keep the movement disciplined and united, and that Zuma has always thrived on decisive, even ruthless, political maneuvering. The implications stretch beyond the walls of Parliament. For the dismissed MPs, losing their seats means losing their livelihoods, benefits, and public platform. For the party, it means dealing with court cases, media scrutiny, and the risk of damaging its image at a time when it is trying to establish itself as a serious national force. For the broader public, it raises the question of whether South Africa's democracy is being strengthened or weakened when parties can remove elected representatives in this way. The courts will have to weigh in, and their rulings may set important precedents for how far parties can go in disciplining or purging members. Looking ahead, several possible outcomes are on the table. If the courts side with the dismissed MPs, some of them could be reinstated, forcing the party to rethink its internal processes and possibly humiliating its leadership. If the courts side with the party, MK's leadership will be emboldened to act even more forcefully, but at the risk of further alienating those who feel sidelined. Either way, internal unity will be under pressure, and the possibility of splinter groups or resignations looms large. What happens next will not only shape MK's future, but could also influence how other new parties manage internal disputes in South Africa. At this moment, MK has already sworn in replacements, and Zuma's leadership circle is presenting the purge as a necessary step. But the dismissed MPs remain defiant. Their legal fight is ongoing, and the public is watching closely. This episode is more than a party squabble. It is a window into the challenges of building new political movements in a country where voters are impatient for change, but wary of repeating old mistakes. The story is still developing, and its outcome will tell us much about whether MK can become a durable force in South African politics or whether it will collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. It also forces us to think about what kind of political culture we want to see in the country. One where parties are transparent and accountable to their members, or one where power is concentrated in the hands of a few leaders who make decisions without explanation. If you found this discussion insightful, make sure to subscribe for more in-depth analysis of South African and global politics. I'd love to hear your views in the comments. Do you think the MK leadership was right to act so decisively, or was this an abuse of power that undermines democracy? Should courts intervene in party decisions, or should parties be free to handle their own affairs internally? Share your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next update.